There was another experience with this small ET being, when I was, spontaneously projecting at my parents' house when I was a teenager. They had this huge canyon behind the house, and I would, constantly, um, find myself going to this large canyon area while on a body, and, this was during a daytime projection, so it was nice and bright and sunny and light everywhere, and I was outside early morning hours, and it was in that canyon, and then I saw what looked like a little, metallic UFO looking, ship just cruising in a kind of a straight. It caught my eye right away because of how it was moving,
Mhm.
and it was completely silent. And then it landed in a field next to the canyon, and it was maybe only 20 feet across or so. It wasn't really that big, and a being came out of it that was maybe like 3 feet tall, humanoid looking. Wasn't scary because it had humanistic features.
Mhm.
And it came down and it said, are you Jeremiah? And I said, well, my name is Jeremy. And but yeah, in Hebrew or something, in Hebrew it's Jeremiah.
Jeremiah.
Whatever, however I responded to that, I was like, well, that's not what my parents named me or whatnot, but I guess you're correct. It's Jeremiah. And then this being said, well, nice to meet you, Jeremiah, and I want to give you your soul name. So remember your soul name and don't tell anybody what it is.
Wow.
And so I
Wow.
said, okay. And then it said, write it down immediately so that you don't forget. And so um, I remember going back to my parents' house, um, and I was trying to grab the whatever that was, a pen or pencil and stuff that was on the table, but I couldn't pick it up.
Oh, yeah. You were
You
still in
know,
your
I'm
astral
like
body, yeah.
I'm like trying to write it down, right? And I'm like, wait, this isn't
I've
working.
done that before in my out of body state, trying to write
Yeah,
things down. Yeah.
yeah, or like the doorknob or the light switch. And when I first started to realize how real this stuff was, it was when I was spontaneously popping out and thinking that I was just awake normally in my body.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then and it was dark in the room because it was like 4 in the morning,
Mhm.
and going to the light switch to try to turn the light on in the room. And then noticing how I couldn't switch it up, or move it. I could
Right.
kind of feel it, the texture, I could feel it slightly, but it wasn't working. And that's when I started to really realize, how we're, so multidimensional in nature, as in naturally.
Yeah.
It's not like this is not something where we ascend or become some kind of master at something and attain this multidimensional aspect, right?
Right.
It's
We
just
already are.
yeah, it's already inherent within us and
Mhm.
in how it is just naturally. But we're just not taught this, and when I had my spiritual awakening and realized how our educational system
Yeah.
like really suppresses us from spiritual growth, and awakening our awareness to the larger reality. Like I was really upset, I was really
Yeah.
mad, and then I started to really hate school.
Mhm.
I used to despise it, and thinking, oh man, this is just a bunch of brainwashing. This is
Right.
all a bunch of mind control, brainwashing, and programming of our consciousness. And so it's like they mold the mush. They mold our consciousness
Yeah.
into believing what they want us to believe, you know and and that's kind of what I've noticed in some astral reality constructs, where the beings that live in these different worlds are kind of like, whatever, they're kind of happy there and stuff, but they're still like in a different form of a matrix.
Right.
They're or a consciousness prison,
Mhm.
but just in a different frequency.
Yeah.
So a lot of the things that do go on in this reality are definitely mirrored in some of these other realities, because I think that there's just a lot of beings that want to feed off other beings. Um, and that's a huge component to that, because I found that even good beings still steal people's energy, just like bad beings do.
Hmm.
It's just so the real question is, so what do people do? It's like a person's awakening their consciousness, and and then at the same time they know that their physical body is going to malfunction at some point, and that they're going to have to leave their physical body. So what do we do? So everyone has to kind of dive a little deeper and think a little more deeply about the afterlife and how we really approach all of it. And I've come to the knowledge within myself that there are different ways to escape the matrix. There's different ways to escape the larger matrix and this matrix and all of this, all the control aspects to everything. There's definitely a few ways to do that, but probably one of the best ways to do that is just to initiate your own intent on how you want to function
Mhm.
in the afterlife yourself. Like, what do you
Right.
really want for yourself?
Awareness.
and
Yeah.
and how are you going to do that? And so in bypassing the um, all of these different soul traps that are around to keep recycling people back through the reincarnational loop process, um, is one of those ways to by knowing what to expect. Again, not everyone's going to experience soul traps or life reviews. Not everyone's going to experience that, but a lot of people will. And to know that all of that stuff is not real, is just an illusion. And there's some other being that's trying to take advantage of a person, and trying to trick them. And so if a person gets out of body and then they most likely find themselves in their etheric body, and then they're saying goodbye to their loved ones and goodbye to their physical life experience, and moving on from that, the etheric plane is the area where the soul traps initiate. They don't start in the astral planes. The soul traps exist in, I mean, the realities that are linked to the different soul traps are in the astral structure. So they get a person while they're in the etheric plane. So while in the etheric plane, that's when someone has to be in heavy discernment. If not heavy discernment, have a plan
Right.
for your own consciousness, like what
Right.
you want to do. So for me, it's like, well, I want to build my own astral reality construct. And then it's something that I am just doing, right? I don't live there. I'm building the structure of that. So I have my own plan to how I want to harness or use the energetic matter. I'm not interested in going back to source. I'm not interested in any soul planes or God planes. I don't want to give my energy to anybody. And so the only way to keep your energy for yourself is to understand how you can take advantage of the astral structure for yourself.
Mhm.
And that's one way out. That it's not an easy feat. It's not easy, but I think a lot of it becomes easy and easier
The
once
more
you
the more
have
you're aware of it, the more you're aware.
experiences.
Yeah, I
And
agree.
experience is the key word, because a
Right.
person can have experience in um art, experience in playing piano, experience in acting, and experience in whatever that is. So having the experience in preparing for the afterlife is just another type of experience. And and why not? Because life is very temporary, anyways. And also, when a person's ready to like kind of let go of a lot of the desires of this material plane,
Mhm.
you kind of naturally, kind of in a way, gravitate towards um your mindscape, your mental constructs on your afterlife, because you're already done with this. I mean, the only reason why I'm still here is because I have two daughters. I've got two daughters, and they're the only things that really ground me
Mhm.
to this world.
Sure.
Quite honestly, if I didn't have any children, I wouldn't be here anymore.
Mm.
With the experiences I've had and information I've obtained for myself, um, I know I can just leave. But
There's a book that Jürgen Ziwe wrote called Vistas of Infinity: How to Enjoy Life When You're Dead.
yeah,
And he travels throughout you know, the play. He learned how to project through meditation. He's a TM.
yeah,
He uses TM, and he's been to very, very high planes. And he's an artist, and he actually uses his art to depict what he has seen in the higher planes.
nice.
Yeah, yeah, and what he's experienced. But it's an amazing book, and he talks about that we can enjoy life in the higher planes and have uh, wonderful, wonderful experiences there, and without having to come back to this denser plane here. Yeah,
Yeah,
and
and
yeah, and I've noticed, and I understand that this is what my teachers have taught me, helped me remember that the high is it's good to get as high as we can, all the way to our higher self, to source, whatever we want to call it, because it's a lot easier to drop down in frequency and work that way than it is to move up in frequency if we don't have that foundation, like what you were talking about.
can I say something that you probably might not agree with, but I feel like there's so many people that are so focused on going back to source.
Oh,
Uh,
really?
I mean, people in general, that's the answer. That's the answer to everything. Go back to source. I don't agree with that at all. I just wanted to make a point here, just to say my thoughts. I believe that source created everything we see in our duality,
Hmm.
the good and the bad, the duality of the way we have things, was all brought upon through source, through the imagination of source. So the way consciousness functions as a source consciousness, it manifests instantly through its own imagination. And then boom, and it just
Right.
happens.
Yeah.
And it gives kind of like it gives birth to consciousness. So all of these independent units of consciousness running around just in this earth reality construct, the billions of them, um, they've been given birth to at some point through source's imagination,
Right.
which gives birth to consciousness, not bodies, but the energy of consciousness. but but source does not have the intention of what it's given birth to, for that to come back to the womb. Just like how a mother will give birth to their child, and then when that child becomes old and is about to die, it doesn't go and crawl back into the womb. So
Yeah.
it doesn't make any sense.
I
So
believe that we're meant to
we're we're
experience.
we're
We're meant
meant
to experience.
to evolve
Right.
the multiverse. We
Right.
are meant to expand it. We are meant to become more of creator beings.
Hmm.
We're meant to grow and not go back to source, but to become like source. And as everything is just expanding, the there has to be um, certain consciousness that get to that point of where they understand that they have to create more instead of joining some other kind of creation. So like people who are really religious and they give their consciousness to their religious belief structure, they're not necessarily creating anything. They're just helping to co-create and put energy co-collectively into whatever has already been created. And that's fine. If somebody's happy with that, then more power to the person. If they're happy with that, great. But at some point, you have to have a certain percentage of individual units of consciousness that decide to break away from that whole system and to help to expand the astral structure and to create more worlds and
Hmm.
realities for other beings to exist in.
I agree. I agree
Now,
totally.
the
Yeah.
question is for one person to know of themselves is if a person is wanting to venture into that realm of becoming more of a creator being after their physical life expires, well, what kind of creator being do you want to be? Uh, how um, how are you going to work with other beings? Because remember, the catch 22 is that if you want to grow your own astral reality construct on a longer term basis, and again, everything comes to an end too. Even in the astrals, you can only be there for a certain amount of time before something goes wrong or you move on to something else. That's why I
Well,
always
hopefully you're growing and
yeah, well,
expanding. Yeah.
exactly. See, all the
And
lessons,
creating something
yeah,
else late,
all the
yeah.
lessons people go through, the good and bad
Hmm.
lessons they go through, and they evolve and grow themselves.
Evolve. Exactly. Yeah.
And it's those are important questions for people, and I don't think,
I believe that if people are saying, if anyone says, and I get it, that they just want to go back to source, is because maybe, perhaps, that they're still haven't healed what's going on within them. Yeah. And so it's just a way of saying, I want to go home, and maybe not really understanding exactly what what we are, who we are. Not that we have all the answers, definitely. I know I don't. And so it sounds to me, because I remember 20 something years ago, well, that's I just wanted to go home, be with God, be with source. I don't want any more of this kind of thing, right? So that's kind of what I'm feeling, is if someone's saying, I just want to be with source. And because we hear all this talk about it's blissful, and everything, which it is, being in the light, definitely it is. I mean, there's no description for it. We don't have it here. But yeah, I agree that we are meant to be creators and creator beings. And
yeah,
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 because we are source within us. That's
yes,
who we are. We're sparks of the
that's
the immenseness
that's
of who we
part
are.
of that's the part of evolving your own consciousness
Hmm.
is understanding um how if it's just something that you feel, if a person just has this feeling like, hey, you know what, that's what I'm meant to do, and they really resonate with that, then follow that attractiveness to that, because it's what you're supposed to do. Now, some people might be frightened of that, or scared to do that, and they'll just kind of be undecided about what their real intention is, and so when you die and you are kind of undecided in a way, um, there's still a lot of different ways one can approach the afterlife. There's so many different things you can do. And you can, travel to different astral worlds. You can, like a person, if they just wanted to be independent, they can spend a whole few days in the real time zone, and hug all their loved ones and their
Sure.
siblings, and have their goodbyes to just help kind of shed away that physical experience. And then you can go and visit people, grandparents, or maybe you had a person had a brother that died in the war or something, and you can go and visit all these people. But then again, there is that variable of where everyone else's consciousness is centered at any given time, within that whole quantum moment, so to speak, where their consciousness is centered. So in my videos, sometimes I talk about how I'll run into things, but they're kind of like just and they're like holograms. They're like energetic copies of that.
Yeah, you mentioned that last time we talked.
Yeah. So it's kind of a blend of both. But then sometimes you're running into the actual, like, full on conscious being, that's in that form. My mom had a really cool, my dad's had 3 or 4 out of body experiences, but he didn't have them till he was in his 50s, right?
Yeah.
So it was after my experiences as a kid, and then I only found out about my dad's experiences like way later on, later. I was like in my 30s when I found out about him. But he doesn't like talking about it. He's really closed up about it, reserved. My mom had one out of body experience, and her out of body experience happened right after her sister died from a brain tumor. Her sister was like about 45 years old when she died from brain cancer. And then it was within 24 hours of her passing that my mom woke up in sleep paralysis. She was paralyzed. She popped out of her body just kind of spontaneously, and she noticed a really bright white kind of golden light that was coming down the hallway, and she was attracted to it. And so she just went towards that light, and she got to the pantry in the kitchen. And then the doors opened up, and it was her sister in a white, beautiful white, energetic, long gown. She just looked just amazing, looked healthy and beautiful. And her sister told her, I woke you up out of your sleep so that I can tell you that everything is fine and that I'm great.
Nice.
And so it was so her sister was saying goodbye to my mom, and she had the ability to pull her out of her body, and
Wow.
so that they could have that interaction.
Nice.
And then after I heard about that, I told my mom, let's see, this is what I'm talking about. This is what the out of body stuff is.
Hey, Jeremy, we're gonna have to stop. Thanks. This was fascinating, and yeah, as usual. So thank you for being on my show and sharing all your as much as you have shared. I've learned
Wow.
a lot.
I just realized it's actually
It's
12:26. Oh my
12:26, yeah.
goodness gracious. Okay. All right.
I know, right?
Well, it was a pleasure, and again, thank you for our really great conversation so far. And it's nice to talk to other people who can talk to me and not think that I'm insane. So,
Right? No, no, exactly. So, for people, for you peeps that are watching, where can people get a hold of you or watch your channel?
my YouTube channel is called Consciousness Awake, and my name is Jeremy Bosotina. But yeah, they can just search Consciousness Awake on the YouTube search, and they'll see it pop up. If and that's the only thing I'm really focused on right now. I don't have anything, I don't have a website or any books or anything like that. I just focusing on growing that channel, and sharing my own experiences, and also eventually bringing more and more people onto the channel to, like to talk to other people, and have other people share their NDEs, their OBEs, and that kind of stuff. So
Nice.
I have some big plans, and things I wanted to do with the channel itself. Yeah.
Okay. Okay, great. Yeah, and I'll put it down in the details
Yeah.
for
Thank you.
everyone. So,
Appreciate it.
yeah. Okay. Well, thanks everyone for watching, and please subscribe if you haven't already, and like the video if you enjoyed our conversation.
All
Okay.
right.
All right. Thanks,
All
Jeremy.
right. Peace. Bye.
Yeah.